The countdown continues, and we are now just 3 days away from the NFL Draft. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this edition of Broncos Beat. I'm Alexis Perry, and joining me here today, we have Ryan Edwards from Broncos Country Tonight, James Palmer from the NFL Network, and Cecil Lammey from 104.3 The Fan. Hey, guys, last week, I think we all saw Ian Rappaport's tweet that said that he had a GM tell him that the NFL media is more wrong about mock drafts this year than they ever have been. So with that said, I thought that it would be fun today to delve into a few different mock drafts and decide and debate just how right or wrong they really are. So let's actually start with the most recent version of Mel Kiper's mock. He has the top 4 offensive tackles off the board by the time the Broncos are picking at 15. Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb have been taken by the Jags and Niners. So the Broncos, therefore, are taking wide receiver Justin Jefferson from LSU with Henry Ruggs still on the board. If that's how the chips fall on Thursday, how would you guys grade the Broncos' first-round pick?
Well, I'll jump in right first, and I do like, Alexis, that you said the NFL Network because I got a diploma up there from the Ohio State University as well, so we can keep dropping the these out there as much as possible. First point I want to make is these general managers apparently are now admitting that they do read these mock drafts that everybody puts out as they continue in press conference after press conference to admit we never pay attention to that media stuff. We don't read any of it. Well, apparently they do because they're comparing it against other years that they've read over the mock drafts. But I have heard Justin Jefferson's name linked to the Denver Broncos, and that's coming from a lot of educated sources and not just one. And so it leads me to believe they do have a lot of interest in him. They have done a lot of work on the other top 3 wide receivers as well, I'm told. But you also have to remember where maybe they think they might be getting Justin Jefferson. Are they doing all of that work to pick him at 15? Are they doing all of that work to possibly get him if they think they can trade back and there's a couple back that they'll be sitting at and he'll still be available? The point of it is they are interested in him, and that's true. And I think the biggest part that jumps out at me is this is a team that struggled to move the football on third down, and they were 30th in the NFL on third down. He is a guy that goes out and snatches the football. He's very aggressive catching it. To me, that helps out a young quarterback that could have accuracy issues as Drew Lock just has 5 games under his belt. I think that helps them. What they're looking for specifically might tell you if they do like him this much and they're putting this much work into it, it might mean that Pat Shurmur sees something in the way he wants to use Justin Jefferson.
Well, I went to the Laramie County Community College up in Cheyenne, and up there I learned that the dirty little secret in the NFL is it's all about fit. So how does Jefferson fit in? And I agree with you. Like, is it Jefferson at 15? That's, a little bit interesting. Is it Jefferson at 21, moving back? Then that's more interesting. To me, it's about fit. And how does a slot receiver fit the Pat Shurmur's offense? We're all excited about Henry Ruggs and that speed on the outside, as we should be. But Jefferson, out of his 111 catches last year, 109 of them were from the slot. He played outside 2 years ago for LSU, was not successful against press coverage. So if you can tell me we can teach him to beat press, I go, okay, cool. This team needs an outside receiver. If you think he can't learn that or can't be better and he's just a slot-only receiver, then that's where the pick becomes very interesting, especially with Ruggs still on the board.
Yeah, and they still need an outside receiver. So, great, you just took the best slot receiver in the draft. Where's your outside receiver? So you're going to have to fill that somewhere else in the draft. Listen, you're right. The numbers this last year were eye-popping, but the numbers in the year before were not, and that was when he was playing predominantly on the outside. So Justin Jefferson, a fantastic player, a great contested catch player. There are other contested catch players I think you could get maybe even the range of the 20s or maybe even trading back even further if the Broncos ultimately want to go there. And by the way, I just want to throw this out there. A lot of mocksters, including Mel Kiper, they absolutely love seeing Henry Ruggs in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. So for whatever reason they force that move, it's not going to happen. There's no way Henry Ruggs lasts that late.
I think that connection there is because everybody I've talked to thinks Deshaun Jackson's going to play between 2 and 8 games in Philadelphia, and obviously you're going to need to replace that in some sense, and they need multiple receivers. But the other part we do want to make clear is, as we say, and he wasn't great in 2018. When I talked to a couple different offensive coordinators throughout the last couple weeks talking about these quarterbacks, every one of them said Joe Burrow's 2018 tape was terrible, not good. So we do have to remember that it is a year-by-year thing on how you grow throughout this process. And I think Cecil, right, he is a much better player inside. But maybe there is some aspect of the way the Broncos see their entire draft falling as Ryan said, you get that outside receiver later in the draft. They have a lot of picks that if there's somebody later that you think can fill that outside route, if you look at the worlds of Kyle Shanahan and things like that, you go and you get a later receiver that can stretch the field. Perhaps they're looking to take more than just one guy.
Well, for those who are drinking the Henry Ruggs Kool-Aid, which is truly most of Broncos country, how do you convince them that it's best for the Broncos to take Justin Jefferson over Henry Ruggs?
Ryan brought it up. It's contested catch ability. Henry Ruggs does not have what scouts call my ball mentality, meaning when the ball's in there, he's going to go get it. Now, Henry Ruggs is not Darius Hayward-Bay. He's not John Ross. He's not those type of guys, Ted Ginn, but he's also not Tyreek Hill. What makes Tyreek Hill a special superstar is the fact that he attacks the ball in the air. Ruggs doesn't do that. Jefferson does. Now it's running over routes and finding a soft spot in the zone, almost all exclusively from the slot. But that's the biggest difference, and I think it's a very important difference in the way these two players fight for the ball.
When do you guys suspect that wide receiver run will start? If the Broncos get into the top 10, is that a surefire way to make sure that they get the best wide receiver on their board?
Yeah, certainly. The fact is right now we're kind of all looking at it as pick 11 with the Jets. The Jets, the Raiders, who have made no secret they're going to be going after wide receiver at some point early on in this draft, and the 49ers right there, the next pick. So if the Broncos want to be in position to take one of the top three, if that is something that they've decided through the course of this pre-draft process that we have to have one of these top three wide receivers, then you're going to have to make a deal with the Browns, who, by the way, my understanding, are interested in trading back. They need an offensive tackle, but I can understand it that they don't necessarily need to have one of the top four guys. And if that's the case, they'll probably be able to get a Josh Jones or an Ezra Cleveland there at 15.
Well, I don't know if the Broncos looked at my mock draft that I did for PhiladelphiaEagles.com.
Yes, they did.
They probably did. At 15, CeeDee Lamb was still there. So I think that run does begin at 11, as Ryan pointed out. But do the Jets take a tackle there? I think the Raiders do. I believe the 49ers do with one of their 2 first-round picks. Most likely that one, in my opinion, could be wrong. It's a mock draft after all. But you might be able to sit put at 15 and still get one of those big three if, in fact, the big three match the Broncos' big three.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And if you used to think, before the DeAndre Hopkins trade, this was going to start at 8, as Kyler Murray kept calling Steve Keim on a daily basis saying, please take my former teammate and CeeDee Lamb at 8th overall. I'd love to have him here. Now that's one less team. And I think Cecil's kind of right. If one of these teams doesn't want to go receiver, that might change everything for the Broncos at 15, where they sit. There is a thought in my mind that with the 49ers ahead of them, they don't go receiver there. What if they don't go receiver, and then that might throw everything off to where you might not have to go up? But 2 little points to make are, I've had plenty of people tell me the only receiver in this draft they think deemed special is Jerry Jeudy. And that's the one that most guys have told me is the special player out of this group.